More comments?
Abstain.
Sure. All right, we're going to call to order our board meeting tonight, May 4th. With you, 2022. Please stand during the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. In attendance this evening, we have our entire board, Director Carey, Director Ledoux, Director Duque, Director Yaden Beach, myself, Director Butler, as well as our Superintendent, Dr. Middleton. We're going to move on to item 2 of the agenda, 2A, certificated staff appreciation. I have a letter here. I'm going to read insert piece of this letter from the President of the United States. It says, "Now therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim May 3rd, 2022 as National Teacher Appreciation Day and May 1st through May 7th, 2022 as National Teacher Appreciation Week. I call upon all Americans to recognize the hard work and dedication of our nation's teachers and to observe this day and this week by supporting teachers through appropriate activities, events, and programs. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 29th day of April in the year of our Lord 2022 and of the independence of the United States of the United of America 246. Joseph R. Biden Jr., President. Before we go to board comments, I'll just make a comment on this briefly. I have other board comments, but it's always exciting with me for Teacher Appreciation Week. I appreciate how far my children have come because of the teachers in their lives, and I'll make more of my board comments, but I just hope everyone in the community can stand behind and support our teachers this week as they recognize their hard efforts. So we're going to move on to board comments. So we'll start with Director Carey.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't echo the sentiments of the chair first and just give a heartfelt thank you to all the teachers that we have in the district. Just greatly appreciate your dedication and hard work. I also want to express my deep gratitude to the Granite community. While there are more votes to be counted, it appears that both of the levy propositions have votes to pass. When these two levies were sent to voters in February 2018, we had approximately 2,581 total votes. In the February 2022 vote count, we had approximately 3,003 votes, or 26.5% turnout. And in this election, we unofficially have approximately 3,727 votes, or a 32.4% turnout. It was certainly my hope that by hard work and deep communication with our community, we could engage more people in the discussion related to the levies and increase the turnout for this special election. That's why I supported rerunning the levies again after the failure in February. Here's that hope was a success. I want to specifically thank members of the YES community, parents, teachers, students, my colleagues on the board and staff. Everyone worked extremely hard, waving signs, mailing flyers, talking to neighbors, being vocal advocates on social media, manning booths around town. This outcome would not be possible without everyone's hard work and dedication. So as we look forward, one of the things I want to do is be a better advocate and public servant for the approximate 1,800 people that voted no on the levies. Without a doubt, the percentage of support we had in 2018 with the passage of both levies with a percentage above 15% to today, where the first vote on the levies failed and the divide between the yes and the no vote is currently less than 2% on one levy, is significant and must be addressed and not ignored. To me, local government can and should be the best example of a government working at its best potential. I live and work in this community. I'm easily accessed. I got involved in local government because I care about this community, and I think that if you care about something, you have to be willing to step up to support it. I've heard a clear message from a significant number of our community that there are concerns with the current status of our district, and I think as an elected local leader, I have a responsibility to not only to listen to those concerns, but to actively seek out engagement to understand those concerns. So based on feedback I've gotten, There are 4 areas where I want to advocate for change moving forward. First one, I've heard feedback from many that feel that districts should no longer need local levies based on the McCleary decision, and a general anger about the amount of funding that the Grand Falls School District receives compared to other districts. There's a feeling that we should push back on the state and demand that they modify the funding model. I have complete agreement with this sentiment. Article 9, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution says the following: it is the paramount duty of the state to make ample provision for the education of all children residing within its borders without distinction or preference on account of race, color, caste, or sex. We use the term fully fund in much of our communication, but the Constitution actually says ample funding for all children. I would argue that ample is actually more than fully. The state has determined that fully means only related to basic education. So moving forward, I will advocate for us to demand more information from the state on why Grand Falls was assigned such a low regionalization factor, and demand records of their calculation via an OPMA request. If the information provided by the state does not clearly show the correct calculation, I will advocate that we explore all legal options. In addition, as legislative rep representing the board and the school district, I will continue to advocate directly to our state legislators about the funding shortages in Grand Falls. Number 2, I've heard feedback that more transparency is needed from the district. As I stated in our last board meeting via discussion I actually had with a person who was not supportive of levies, which is the reason why talking to people who don't think the way I do is so important, I had an epiphany about the term transparency. As a public institution who is required to have meetings in public, votes in public, sharing information requested, and is audited every year, I'd always assumed that we met that transparency bar. However, I've realized that a lot of information requires you to constantly or consistently be at meetings, or know where the information that you're looking for is located, or know who to contact to give the information you need. All of these things require a significant amount of action on the part of the person who is looking for that information. I now look at that transparency through a different lens. I understand that transparency, or the way I define it now in its purest state, means that the information that you didn't even know that you need is presented to you in multiple ways at multiple times and is readily accessible at all times. This allows our constituents to take a passive role and still be kept in the loop. I plan on advocating that we increase the information that we provide to our community. I'll advocate that we include financial information in flyers sent out and mailed directly to members of our community. I'll advocate that we include a section on our website that has an executive summary of important information. We'll also advocate that we increase our activity on social media and provide regular updates. I will advocate that we have town hall meetings at least once a year with other local agencies, county council, city council, those types of things. I'll also advocate that we refine our public comment policy to allow public comment via an online method. Number 3, I've heard that feedback from our constituents that they want improved educational outcomes. Now, this is something that we've talked a lot about. We're going to talk about it tonight. And I think that anyone on either side of the yes or no would be in complete agreement. But along with the transparency piece I just spoke about, I don't think a lot of parents know about our improvement goals in each building and the progress we are making related to each goal. So moving forward, I want to advocate that we include our school improvement goals and the progress made on them in a flyer that we mail to each home, along with placing the information on a specific page on our website and on Facebook updates. I will also advocate that we include an incentive in any future contract with the superintendent to meet specific education improvement goals. Number 4, I've heard that our constituents want more visibility of how levy funds are spent and where the money goes. I believe strongly that we can provide a form or system that shows how much the state provides in funding for specific categories in our budget, and then the divide between what the actual costs in the category are and the amount of levy funds to use to cover the divide. I will advocate that we create a form that includes this information and is provided via regular updates to the board as part of the business report. I will also advocate that this information is included in flyers that we also mail along with the other flyers to homes and included on the specific page on our website and updated via Facebook updates. All of these points I received by having dialogue with people that care about our district and the students we serve, but are not supportive of the levies and or the current status of the district. As a leader of this district, that information is beyond valuable to me. I understand that oftentimes I only hear from people that think and feel the same way I do, and that creates what's called a confirmation bias. I desperately need more people to reach out and engage in dialogue with me that feel or think completely different than I do. I don't know what I don't know, and I cannot be an advocate for positive change if I don't understand the impact the decision will have on the greatest amount of people. I welcome anyone residing in this district to reach out to me via any available method to allow me to listen and understand you. I need more voices. I plan to specifically reach out to people who I saw online who were most vocal about their concerns about the district. I sent a number of emails tonight to see people. My intent is not to convince them that they are wrong or try to change their mind. My intent is to listen to them and then ask what they would like to see from our district. Without these voices, without these changes, without more inclusion and better outcomes, we are doomed to repeat the same cycle in 4 years when we go out to run these levies again. That is an outcome that I personally cannot and will not accept. We are granted. Thank you.
All right, Director Ledoux.
Yeah, first want to start off with saying that's a fantastic sentiment there, Carl. I actually couldn't agree any more with what you had been mentioning. So I am very encouraged by the levy. We still do have a lot of work to do, and this is just going to be a little bit of a repeat of what Director Carey was saying. Please communicate, right? I mean, I joined the board as an individual that really wanted to ensure that the district represents the interests of the community. As a director within this community right now, it's very difficult if we don't have this information coming in. I'm only as useful, or I'm only as valuable as the information that I have from the community and the decisions that I can make with that information that I get from the community. So I'm sure we can all agree on the outcome, right? The outcome that we all want is better educated students in a wonderful area for our children to grow up. But where we can actually work together and figure out is the how. How are we going to accomplish this, and how are we going to work together to do this? So let's work on actually seeking an understanding with one another and not just confirming our own potential biases, which as Director Carey was mentioning as well. So really working to provide continual transparency, but I really do ask you to come forward if there's anything that's unclear. I believe that's a very fair ask, that we are seeking this information, so please come to us if you have any questions. And then to echo Director Butler again, our teachers are so amazing, right? We've had nothing but fantastic experiences with the teachers in the district so far, and I just want to applaud them, especially during this week. And we're excited to also see, schools like Mountain Way, receiving volunteers again. And, as we have volunteers come through the schools, if you're available, I sincerely encourage you to get involved, because that's also just what strengthens the community a lot more. So those are my thoughts for that.
Yeah, so I kind of wrote my comments out in the form of a letter because I'm still working on my public speaking skills. So forgive me for that. But so I have Dear Granite Falls School District families, Granite Falls community, and Granite Falls School District teachers and staff. I would first like to thank all of you who voted in the levy election. Notice how I said all of you. Of course, I am internally grateful to those of you who voted yes, but I also want to recognize those that voted no. It would be a lie to say that we didn't know we had work to do, but now we have people holding us accountable. I couldn't be more proud of our community, regardless of what side you voted on, because you stood up and you gave a crap. But now those of you who stood up, it's time to show up. I don't just mean showing up at school board meetings, though we really, really want you to, or writing letters and Facebook posts, although those are all great things, so keep doing them. But I mean show up in your children's classrooms. Volunteer, or just go in and observe. Get to know your children's teachers. Help your students with homework. Pay attention, especially to the curriculum your levy dollars will help fund. Take this opportunity to see firsthand your levy dollars at work. See them working at sporting events, drama performances, and band concerts. This goes out not just to GFSD families, but to community members as well. Join committees, attend events, and yes, watch or attend board meetings. This message doesn't just go out to the families and community, however, it also goes out to our teachers, staff, and administrators. It's time for you to show up as well. By that, I mean embrace our parents. Due to the state regulations during COVID, parents were shoved out of classrooms and treated like the unclean. Invite them back in. Keep them informed. Send out newsletters, progress reports, anything to get them and keep them involved with their student and students' classroom, because we know how important it is and how much impact parental involvement can be. Show them where their levy dollars are going. Teach their children with that passion that you had on the day you got your teacher's license. Our students spent 2 years behind a computer screen. Turn off the screens, turn off the Disney movies in study hall, and talk to your students. And for other staff, especially administrators and school board members, it's time for us to show up too. The families and the community do not know who we are. I know we've been talking about it, but it's time now to show them who we are and why we are here. My daughter is in Kung Fu, and at the beginning and end of class, they have a mantra that they say. It has things like be humble, be honest, but the one thing that they say every time that I think we all need to live by is when we try our best, we will be our best. So now is our time. Now is our time to try our very best. And if we do, we will be our best.
Thank you, Director Beach.
Well, I didn't prepare comments like Director Terry, Director Kincaid, so now I feel a little bit going off the cuff. I want to thank the community. Last time I sat at a meeting, I pleaded with you to vote yes in support of our students and our staff and all the families in Granite Falls that would be impacted by a no vote, right? Jobs and families, students across the board would have been impacted. And I'm grateful that you've stepped forward and supported the levy, supported those students and families. I did want to actually recognize at the high school, they put on a play that was free for the community and they did such an awesome job. Like those kids did a fantastic job. The name of the play was The Bold and the Young. I had to just look that up on my phone a minute ago in case anyone thought I was texting or something. But anyway, I had to look up the title. And I really wanted to, a special thank you to the high school students, to all of the staff that supported them. I know that I heard from a couple of the people that were there that they were practicing 2 hours a day, like every single day since March or something. I mean, it's a lot, and they did a fantastic job, and I appreciated that. I do, of course, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and I feel like words, I don't want words to get old, but I do want to say thank you, and that thank you has so much emotion and heart behind it, because teachers are the ones boots on the ground doing the work. Like we sit here and we talk about ideas and we talk about plans and we challenge but the people that are boots on the ground doing the work in the classroom every single day, thank you. Because without that effort, what we do, it doesn't play out. We don't see outcomes, right? So I appreciate the effort. And I know that some days state testing gets long and you get kind of tired of it. And anyway, I just wanted to recognize the effort and say thanks for being boots on the ground, doing the work. And I'm sure that I'm forgetting something, but I think that's all I have for now. Thanks.
I wanted to close on, but I wanted to make my statement last because it's just full of a lot of thank yous. So I read the proclamation from President Biden, and I just want to say thank you to the teachers who've been a part of my family's life. Those who taught my children to read, who taught them to love school, to love, being a part of a learning community. Thank you. I can still remember the teachers growing up, the ones that meant something to me. Miss Legler, my kindergarten teacher, taught me to love to read. Miss Stone, we had a block class, my third, fourth grade teacher, taught me to love history. And I can go on and on. Teachers, Mr. Gray, my science teacher in middle school, taught me that I can be good at science even though I didn't really like it. So I just so many teachers. But just thank you for what you do for my family, for me, for the community, for our whole society. It's amazing. So I just want to publicly thank all the teachers who've been part of my life and my family's life. As part of that, I want to thank the community members who voted yes to support these teachers, support our community and our schools. Maybe you who know me personally know that I really don't like taxes. I'm not a big fan of paying taxes. So I understand the choice, the hard choice it is to vote to pay more taxes. But me being someone who pays taxes, I always vote for the school levies because it's good for our entire society. When we have a well-educated, behaved, young group coming up, it's just better for everyone. And I see that public good, and I appreciate everyone who voted, of course, but especially those who voted yes to support these kids. It's for all of us that we do this. So thank you to everyone there. The last thing you want to make is the past really month and a half has been really hard for me. A good friend and mentor of mine passed away recently. My daughter's had some medical challenges, and it's just been really hard to stay focused on anything really, with everything going on in my life. But there's people in this room who've been nothing but supportive of me. My fellow board members, administrators, everyone, and it's just, I want to say thank you. And people in the community, I want to say thank you. We are a community, and I felt that the past several months. And we're not perfect, but we do care for each other. And I want to say thank you to everyone for that. So those are my board comments tonight. So move on to item 3, district reports. We're going to hear the BLRB report.
Yes, we do have BLRB here via Zoom tonight. And so we're all set for them to join. We'll have Sarah Fisher and Bob Lindstrom here, and they've both been on site. We've met multiple times, either by Zoom with our executive committee of Mr. Cruz and Director Carey and myself. They met in a larger group to talk as they came and visited in the spring break to start their assessment. And I just thought, rather than waiting for them to come and present their findings and next steps, it would be good for them to come and sort of give an overview and sort of tell us where they are on this path. So I want to turn it over to Sarah and Bob at this time.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Sarah Fisher, thank you, Josh, for the introduction. And I've just been sitting here listening to your opening statements tonight. Thank you for your participation and your passion for your community. That was special. That lingered. But thank you all, and appreciation for your efforts as well as you move forward as a community and as a board with the levy and with future projects of a capital consideration. I have a little PowerPoint here, and I'm with Bob Lindstrom. Bob will do a little introduction while I load my screen, and we'll have about 10 minutes, I think, is what our time is going to be. We just want to give you some progress updates, as Josh mentioned.
Well, Sarah does always a much better job than I do, but I'm Bob Lindstrom with BLRB. I'm a principal. I've been with BLRB for 25 years. And if you don't know, K-12 is what we do. 95% of what we do at this firm has been for 70 years, K-12. So we have a real passion for it, and it's been exciting already to date. I was up there yesterday working on a different little project, an ELC grant with Karen, but it's just a pleasure to get to know your community. It's lovely to see all the excitement, and congratulations on your levy. So that bodes well for the future.
It does. What we want to do is just talk about a little road trip. I was last at the board meeting. I believe it was in March, starting our conversation, or February, when we were kicking off just to say hello to BLRB. So as project manager coming back, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this road trip we're going to be on for the next 2 years. And it's exciting because we've kicked it off and away we go. So tonight we're attending the board meeting. We're going to talk about what a master plan is. That's part of our task as architects and as facilitators with our consultant teams. So we'll talk about that. I'll give you a schedule for what we're going to be working on here. Let you know what we've been working on. Bob said he was just up in Granite Falls. He's actually been up there twice recently, and that's a good thing. We like to be in our communities, and we'll talk about what's coming this summer and fall as next steps. So we'll start with, what is a master plan? In a very basic sense, a master plan in public infrastructure focuses on collaborative investigative process to answer questions. And they are what, why, what, and when. And to answer those questions, we have to do some investigation. So we have to figure out why we would want a master plan. We want a master plan so that we can tell the future what the plan is going to be, what we're going to do. And we do it through investigations. Why do we do investigations? To find out what we need to do. And when we find out what we need to do, then we need to decide when we're going to do it. And that is the basis of a master plan, is to identify your capital planning, your facility improvements, your, what we say programming. I'll use the word programming a couple times here. Programming isn't a program from a theater. It's actually the map of what is informing the size of a room, what is in it. If there's a future program coming, as Bob mentioned, the ELC, which is an early childhood learning center programming effort a little bit last night, which is identifying where spaces can join together and be together. Does something need a new roof? Those are the why do we do a plan, so that we can investigate what needs to be done, because we don't know unless we investigate. We take that information from investigations and we help identify what needs to be done as consultants, and teamed with you, the board, and the community. There's a process I'll talk through on schedule, but we will say, well, what needs to be done? What do you need to accomplish the why? And then we help decide when, and it is a counseling role. When can that be planned out? Is this a 5-year, 10-year plan? Is this next week? By the way, we didn't find anything that says next week when we did our early investigations, so that's a good thing. And then there's a how component, and the how component isn't officially the master plan itself. It's its own standalone item, which is your capital funding and budgeting component. The two are mated in that they are developed together. But again, one's goal is to identify what, when, how, or what, why, what, when, and the how is really the funding. And so there's two processes that are happening. We have a little itinerary here, and I picked itinerary because it's a road trip. It seemed to meet the needs of the conversation better. So we have essentially a 2.5 phase approach. Where we are tonight and today is in the little arrow that says up. This is March 2022 to June 2022. I will talk about this schedule in a little bit of detail. Last year, as you know, there was an early investigative study that identified the early assessment of the buildings. BLRB is currently evaluating that document. We did some pre-reading of it earlier this year, and we said, hey, we need to get consultants out in the engineering profession, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, as well as architectural, to take a little deeper dive into that study and to confirm some study assumptions, and also to answer some questions that weren't in the study to begin with. That effort was a multi-day trip up to Granite Falls by our partners, PCS structural engineers and BCE engineers. Bob was on that team, and so was Isaiah from our office, Isaiah McElroy. When you see today, it looks like we're very early in the process, and that's where we're at. We've visited your schools, and I'll just show you some little snippets of which ones we visited. And we're now trying to find, and we've organized and found archival documents and plans and electrical data, and we're in the middle of this compilation process of a lot of information where we will analyze it, look if we decide if we need maybe some further study. And this is, again, all to identify the why we have to do something so that we can get to the what. So we're going to work through this process until June, and we'll make some recommendations to move forward for further study. Starting in June through September, we'll be looking at meeting regarding the future educational programs, your curriculum needs, and look for programming opportunities. remember I was mentioning program as a space component, an actual physical thing. And the programming component is going to go through September. And then we're going to be compiling a report from September to December. That's why Josh had mentioned that he would like us to come and talk to you and let you know where we're at before we get all the way to December, because that feels like a long ways away. And September to December is a refinement process where we may find more questions and look to answer them. So when we get through December 2022, we'll know why we need a master plan, and what, moving into the what is phase 2, which starts to overlap. So you'll see some dates overlapping here. October in phase 2 is also going to overlap with some phase 1. We need to identify the educational programs, and then we need to move into formal long-range planning. I'm down at phase 2 under January 2023 to June 2023. That's that what component. What do we need to include in this master plan? And then we will be developing visual materials and refining visual materials through the end of 2023. So it's a 2-year process right now. Next year, as we see that towards the end of this year through next year, is the community engagement portion and board participation. That helps us get hands-on identification of what to do for this, literally what to do. Where does this go? What happens here? Does this item need to be prioritized? So that is going to be part of our master plan. So the phase 2 is the master plan crafting component. Phase 2A is listed down in green, and I mentioned it because that's the budgeting and financial portion of it, because we couple that again with the investigation. We will be getting informed cost data so that we can apply some numbers to some of those master planning items in order to determine when they can happen and where funding can come from and what opportunities can be done with this levy and what opportunities can be developed elsewhere. So look at our schedule, and we'll be coming back a little bit here in the next 2 years, but especially towards the end of this year and into next year. What have we done so far? I mentioned that we were out on site. So we're in the phase 1 assessment stage, which is we visited some buildings, and it was during spring break. So if you missed us, that's okay. We try to be somewhat quiet and careful and not poke around too much, but we do get inside your buildings. We were in mechanical rooms and on roofs, and we were poking around in electrical panels and wanted to see what happened. So we've been to Monte Cristo and Granite Falls Middle School and the high school and the alternative high school and support buildings. We were at Pop Rogers, we were in maintenance buildings, and we were at the bus depot. And as I said, our team was up there for 2 days, and I hope we were all able to say hello if you did see us, but clipboards and hard hats and lots of people wandering around looking up. But I promise we were really taking about 10,000 photographs, trying to document and seeking out all of your operations and maintenance manuals dating back to the 1950s. We found quite a bit of good information. And during this investigation, we try to be on the lookout for, as a term in electrical, like rat's nests and spaghetti wiring. We didn't see too much. You're in better shape than a lot of places. And I think that's a good statement to be at, that there are things that we will probably discover during this investigation process. And again, the why process. But for right now, we would have raised our hands if anything was really alarming right away, that if we could see it. And these are just some of the places we went, some of those 10,000 photographs. I just think it's neat to see all the pieces that don't think about. What are our next steps? So our next steps are definitely related to our schedule. So right now we're in the middle of this, a lot of data, getting it down into an organized fashion, and then working with you to determine, is it adequate? Is the current function of your buildings adequate for educational? Are there immediate repairs that we would recommend? All of those items, and then just kind of marching through the summer. That's kind of a quick overview of what I had to share. Bob, do you have some additional comments on the schedule or what you saw when you were out on the site visit?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, first and foremost, I'd like to give, I don't know if he's there, I'd like to give a big shout out to Dion. He was a wonderful, wonderful tour guide and just got us everywhere we needed to do. And I know that was hard for him to give up some of his time because I understand he was in the process of moving as well. So wonderful tour guide. He got us all the information we needed. Sarah kind of went over some of the stuff that we'll be doing. We're taking all those plans and digitizing them. We returned those yesterday, but we now have those documents and we'll be entering those to gather more data over the summer, reporting some of this to ICOS, and then that will help us, as Sarah mentioned, for the master plan. So don't really have, I think Sarah covered most of it. I'd just open it up for any questions that you might have at this point. That was a lot of information to take in all at once, I will admit, so.
Board?
I have a comment,
Yeah.
not a question.
Dr. Carey.
Yeah, Dr. Carey.
It's a director.
Oh, well, I was like, yeah, man. me, doctor, all
Dr.
right.
Carey, go for it.
One of the reasons that I was highly supportive of this master plan process is that we have a lot of deferred maintenance items. We have a lot of things that we have concerns about. Not a lot of things. I want to be clear, not things that are detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of our students, but just maintenance things that we've deferred in our movement to increase our financial stability. And we're not building experts. So, of these things, we needed an expert like the team BLRB has created to really help us prioritize those needs. And then in addition to that, because I think at the end of the day, we need to be good stewards of public money. BLRB is also going to not only help us prioritize that, but they're going to help us take a look down the road to help us understand the growth that we're going to need, or the future educational facilities that we're going to need to have. I mean, this is a good problem to have, but we are growing. I don't want to steal Marshall's thunder, but if I understand correctly, April was the highest enrollment that we've had in 10 years. So, throwing money, just as an example, throwing $20,000 on a roof that's got 5 years left, but understanding an educational report that says, hey, Carl, in 5 years, that building's never going to be good enough. That allows us to take that $20,000 and maybe allocate it to something else. So this is really good information. This is really, really, really good information that BLRB is going to provide us so that we can make those really super educated decisions and spend money in the places that it's going to have the most positive effect for our staff, students, and administrators. So I'm really excited to get some more information and to be involved with BLRB. The board has asked me to be involved in these meetings. Dr. Evans done a great job involving me in it, and I'll certainly continue to sit on the meetings as we move forward. So one of the questions, though, that I had for Sarah, and I think I know the answer to this, Sarah, because I saw the picture, but in your list of buildings that you attended, I didn't see Mountain Way listed, but I saw a picture of Mountain Way. So the question is have you guys been able to look at everything you need, or is there going to be more visits coming? Were you able to get through Mountain Way? Can you give some feedback there?
Thank you. I'll take that, Sarah. Yes, we did look at Mountain Way. We did actually visit all facilities on top of doing some portables, maintenance facilities that are, over in kind of Dion's world, the transportation center. So I believe we had a pre-meeting with Josh Marshall before we went out and made sure we had a list, but I think we added to that list. So apologies for it not being on there, but yes, I believe we hit everything and more on that list, Carl.
So just one more follow-up question for Chair, if you don't mind. Obviously, the summer is a wonderful time to do stuff. Dion's going to present us an operations report tonight on some things that he's got planned for the summer. I was super encouraged to hear you say that there was nothing that you're like, oh my goodness, fix this right now. is there a way, if there's anything else that's in the, let's call it the immediate category, and I'm not asking for you to get your report done earlier, but I guess I'm saying if there's something that's, that's really pressing, is there a way that you could let us know, like a quick executive summary of that, or a bullet point? Doesn't have to be a robust or really defined thing. I would hate to miss the opportunity for Dion to potentially address it this summer, if it's something that we could even address. Do you get what I'm asking there?
Yes, and we can prepare that, kind of like you say, a bullet point summary, identifying some of our first initial thoughts that we're talking about tonight, but then anything, we can also prioritize some of the things we saw. Again, nothing that we feel that is too imperative for life safety, but yes, if Dion has the time, money, budget, or wants to pull off a small works project, kind of one of those summer miracles that we're so used to, we can certainly prepare that, Carl.
Perfect. That's all I've got.
Any other questions for?
I think Carl and I often think about the same thing, so you're freaking me out just a little bit, but just kidding. So I've never seen a plan like this before, but I've seen other plans that we've done in the past that are not quite as in-depth. And often they sort of categorize maintenance, safety, different things like that. And so along with what he's asking on that executive summary, if there are safety concerns that we can get addressed during the summer before the students come back, right? If you've noticed something like that, I definitely would like to have that included on the report so that Dion could look at it during that time when students aren't here. That's all.
Right. Thank you. We'll do that.
Apologies if I missed this. Time frame of, I guess, what's the time span that we're looking on? Is this meeting the needs over the next 5 years, 10 years, 2 years? What's this assessment going to present us for longevity?
That's a great question. Normally, an average of a master plan is looking at least 10 years out. OSPI requires you to do a study, getting engineers involved every 6 years, and every stage in between, or every year in between. The district can provide that themselves or log on to the OSPI website and kind of maintain that. We go in and validate that, add content, verify. That's part of what we do in this round, but the master plan that we look at can go from 10 and even 20 years, right? If we see sort of that exponential growth in your community, and you can track that on OSPI's website through demographics about how you're growing and your projections, then we can take it even further out. As Carl said it best, we just want to make sure as we plan the property you have, looking for, if you're going to expand, some school districts expand such a rate, they're looking at other properties. Some want to make sure that they're just not throwing good money after bad, right? We just want to make sure that everything we do is spending those dollars wisely, and that you're not going to turn around in 5 years or 4 years and have to tear that out or reinvest those monies. So I don't think I can say it any better than what Carl already said.
Yeah.
But
And I think it's good to identify that it is a cycle and it does need to be revisited. So as Bob mentioned, let's say a 10-year plan. Well, as we're learning tonight, it's 2 years to make the plan. So you really need to start looking again, if we do this in a 10-year focus, which I think is what our target is at the moment. Then we at 8 years in, the next analysis needs to start for the next planning. So just something you think about, that it's not a start at 10 years, it goes 10 years, and then as you're completing it as you pick up the new one. I just want to recommend that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Robert. Item 3B, the Monte Annual School Report.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Paige Wen, Principal of Monte Cristo, and this is Ms. Wright, Assistant Principal. Thank you for coming to the home of the miners. We are very proud of the community that we have. And before I begin, I'd like to give a shout out to our Monte Cristo families, staff, and students. Woohoo! Go miners! For our MCE goals for our school improvement plan, we have two goals. The first goal is in collaboration with staff, students, and parents. Students performing at a tier 1 level in the math Fall I Ready benchmark assessment will increase from 12% of our students to 40% for all of our students, and will increase from 4% to 10% for our students receiving special education services. When I say tier 1, I mean our green level, which is at grade level, in case you didn't know. Goal 2 is in collaboration with staff, students, and parents. Students performing at a tier 1 level in the reading Fall I Ready assessment will increase from 29% of our students to 50% for all of our students, and will increase from 13% to 19% for our students receiving special education services. How our girls were selected is through the leadership team, staff, district coach, district administrators, and Mountain Way Elementary administrators working collaboratively. Data was analyzed using our grades 3 to 5 iReady diagnostics. Subgroups were analyzed using OSP data, iReady data, building leaders input, and Swiss data. Special education student population, 2 or more races, and low income population were progress monitored also along the way. Due to the circumstances of the pandemic, when selecting the percentage of the goals, we wanted to be really realistic and demonstrate hope for our staff. Overall, when comparing the spring to fall diagnostic results for math, students performing at grade level grew from 13% to 39%, which is in the green. Decrease in the number of students 2 grades or more, grade levels below, from 43% to 25%, which is in the red. All domains in math show growth from the fall to the spring diagnostic. Each grade level made growth early on grade level or above. The growth doubled in percentage or more. Being committed to our school improvement plan actions assisted with this academic growth. Our SIP math goal is at 40% tier 1. Our spring diagnostic results show 36% at tier 1. Yes.
Could you, for those watching, could you say the acronyms, like what is SIP for those watching?
Oh yes, school improvement plan.
People sometimes get confused or watching.
Thank you. And I also forgot to mention that when we created the PowerPoint, we were using live iReady data, meaning at that time, students were taking the diagnostic and 97% of the students finished their diagnostic. So not all of them completed it. So the data might look differently if you're going to currently look at the end result. And if you have any questions about the data, I welcome you to schedule an appointment with me and Ms. Wright, and we will sit down and talk about the data with you. Yes, so for our school improvement plan, math goal is at 40% at tier 1, but the result is at 30%. We fell short. I just wanted to repeat that. For our special education subgroup for math, it's 10% at tier 1. Our current spring results show 12% at tier 1. Students performing at grade level grew from 4% to 14% in green. There's a decrease in number of students 2 or more grade levels below from 78% to 56% in red. We exceeded our goal. From the spring diagnostic, more English language learners, also known as multilingual learners, shifted into the category of 1 grade level below and out of the 2 to 3 grade levels below. Students performing at a grade level grew from 8% at early grade level to 8% at mid or above grade level in green. There's a decrease in the number of students 2 or more grade levels below 75% to 40% in the red. You're probably wondering about the actions that were taken to meet our math goals. And some of the things that we did here at Monte Cristo consist of iReady data analysis. We also created the iReady assessment schedule. We had ongoing and targeted PD. We prepared students for data checks. Goal setting was a huge celebration with our students. The teachers really took the time to do goal setting with every single student. We had small group instruction. That's also a celebration because we consistently had small group instruction at Monte Cristo. We hope to continue that year after year. Progress monitoring was a huge factor also because we need to monitor our students' growth and understand what are their needs. We held PLC meetings to analyze iReady data, and we communicated iReady progress with families. The last part that is very important for our students is to really celebrate their growth and to celebrate what they were doing with iReady. And that really motivated our students here at Monte Cristo. How did we progress monitor? We collected the data 3 times a year, and teachers worked with us to really look at the number of math lessons passed each week and the number of students participating. That was part of the progress monitoring. We also did PLC time to discuss iReady diagnostic progress and next steps. And teachers really monitored small group instruction, growth, and interventions. We also then provided regular iReady PD. I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Wright, and she will talk about iReady reading.
Yeah, we set our goal, and as you can see, we made some great growth. Our goal was to hit 50% of our students at target at grade level at tier 1 in the green, and we did it. We hit exactly 50%, which is fabulous. But more importantly, I think what we need to recognize is our kids entered in at a very low number of kids, meeting grade level, but so many that were 2 grade levels behind because of our pandemic. And so that is a huge number of kids in the red that shrank down and not only went to the yellow, but some of them went to the green. So that was a huge success and victory for us. If we look specifically at the domain data, phonics was an area of growth. So we had some targeted interventions in the area of phonics, including purchasing the Phonics for Reading, a program that was helping our teachers in their small groups, especially for 3rd grade, but even in our older grades, targeted phonics as an area and fluency as well. You can see it when we separate it by grade level, they all practically doubled their scores as far as the quantity of kids performing at grade level at tier 1. And so they did a great job, and our data chats were a powerful way for our teachers to create buy-in and some student ownership and responsibility for their own role in their learning. Right here we have our goal of being at 50%. You can see this visually with the green section below that we hit 50%. And so we're really proud of that. And that shrinking of that red section of the kids 2 grade levels or more below. So when we were looking at our special ed population, and that was the targeted goal embedded in our larger school improvement plan goal for reading, our goal was to bring it up to 19%. And we were able to take it from 13% to 23%. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, 21% at tier 1, which is even better. And typically students with IEPs, their 2 grade levels or more below. So for them to make it to grade level, that is a big accomplishment as well. When we look at our English language population, language learners, they made some gains also. It's a small targeted group. We're only talking about like 12 students that qualify in this area roughly. And so they were at 9% in tier 1, and that would increase to being at 18%. Yeah.
I interrupt just
Sure.
up there. I just want to give kudos for not so much getting people in the green, but getting so many out of the red. I mean, if you look at the numbers in the previous slide, it was one of the number 82% in the red at benchmark 1, and then you got that down to 40-some odd percent. So I think I look at that half full as well. So I just wanted to mention that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's absolutely correct, because our focus was in our conversation with our students and in our classrooms. What were those growth conversations? Where did we start and where have we ended the year? And it seems a little premature to talk about the end of the year because we're not finished yet, but with the timing of our benchmark window, that's where we were able to have some of that wrap up round conversations. When we look at the actions, Mrs. Wynn already kind of dove into all the different steps we had. Celebrating those successes that the kids had. You can see here was a goal chart that in one of our classrooms in 4th grade, the kids set goals and then they circled back with their teacher in conferences. And yet this is a goal I met, this one I partially met, and had some real ownership of their learning. Here are some other visuals. On the left, we have personal instruction progress. One great thing that we all love about iReady is those My Pathways lessons, that individualized lessons that go with the learning. And each student is tracking their lesson, their progress on that lesson, how they did, maybe when they had to repeat a lesson, and they're having that accountability and then being able to see their victories and their successes. Here are some visuals where a classroom has their growth charts and they're pledging to do their best when they're taking their iReady lessons. Here's the one where they're measuring growth with stars going up, and they're so excited when they're off the charts that their growth exceeds whatever their original goal was. A key part of the success to our growth this year is what you see here. Here are some examples of our classrooms and our teachers taking that time, like Mrs. Wynn shared, to pull the kids and do small group instruction with them. Being able to use some of those supplemental programs with phonics and really identify their individual needs and target those needs in their instruction. We use classroom-based assessments, iReady data, our title and lab services, some intervention services. We started a Mighty Miners Literacy Club after school for some after-school tutoring in literacy, and just targeted support to help our kids pick up the pieces from these last couple of years and show some great growth. So we had math and reading goals in our school improvement plan, but an area that I think every school in our district has been very cognizant of is a need for social emotional learning and social emotional growth with their kids. Our kids were all back in school at the same time all together, and we realized that there were some needs. And so some of our targeted interventions include creating coaching clubs to help have friendship groups and build some social skills. We had our counselor, full-time counselor pushing in and providing some mindfulness classes and lessons and ways to support our students in their social emotional learning, student check-ins. And we created a special 5th grade SEL classroom to support some of those needs in 5th grade. And most of all of our staff was on board with being very intentional with building positive relationships.
So at Monte Cristo, we believe in a shared leadership. We rely on our PLC's professional learning community and leadership team to be better together. We started the 2021-2022 school year with many new faces, a new principal, a new secretary, teachers, and classified staff. We hired over 28 new staff members. That means we had to train and build relationships with 28 new people. In order to create this high functioning PLC teams that we wanted, we had to find ways to really first build trust. relationships, and a sense of belonging at Monte Cristo. At Monte Cristo, we continue to spread the joy of reading with a virtual book fair, Aqua Sox reading program, Hat in a Hat Day, novel studies, and read alouds. There are more things we have planned, but the school year went by so fast, we still are working towards more reading plans for our students. Some of our celebrations and successes include a partial school improvement and goals were met. So that's a celebration for our entire school. I want to celebrate our teachers for working so hard. If you remember the goals in the beginning, we actually had 4 goals embedded in 2 goals. And we achieved 3 out of those 4 goals. That's exciting, especially for the challenging year that we've had this year. Hooray for the students, families, and teachers. You should be so proud of yourself. I know you're watching this. And some other celebrations is the iReady data growth across all the grade levels. The re-engagement SEL teacher was added for 5th grade. Thank you so much for supporting that. Our full-time counselor this year, we don't know where we would be without our full-time counselor. Thank you for listening to us. And our additional student support advocate time went from 1 person to doing 1 time a week to 1 person doing 5 days a week. We appreciate that so much. And it does make a difference in the lives of our students and our families. And thank you to our new parent group booster. They are a brand new group, and we are very excited that they are growing along with us because we are a brand new school, basically, with all the new faces in this school. I want to thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. If you have any questions, we are available. You can schedule a time with us. We'd love to give you a tour of the school. You might want to consider not coming during the SBA testing because we had to cover up the walls and take down all of the information, and it might look differently than what it would be on a regular school day. But please come and join us anytime. Thank you, everyone.
How much you'd like to make now? Well,
I had one question. So I love the growth between the fall and the spring numbers. I assume that naturally every year there's kind of a bit of a reset in the fall, right? Everybody, if we were to retest again in the fall, everything would drop a little bit. When I'm looking at numbers like 26% growth from fall to spring, and in the tier 1, and 13% in other areas, do we have an idea of how that compares to other years?
Well, for this year, we really had iReady learning and the data with fidelity. So if we're comparing it to the other years, that would be hard for us to do because we just really committed to the whole program in itself. I would love to talk to you next year and tell you and answer your question, because I truly believe from looking at the data and the progress monitoring that we are doing right now, we will see more growth. And if not, you can come back to me and let me know that you're disappointed in me.
I would say today I was at a 3rd grade PLC meeting and they were all sharing and celebrating the data and successes and talking future for next year. And they were able to say, though, what this year was about building good habits of reading skills, right? About how they read aloud to them every single day, how they spent time just getting kids reading a book a day, or building those habits where we've been a little out of the habit for the last 2 years. And so I think we're going to see a continued trajectory towards positive growth.
PLC for people watching.
PLC, our professional learning committee, basically our grade level teams of teachers that meet on those early out Wednesdays when we have collaboration and time where we're making goals and professional development for the future.
Sorry, I want to make sure we start telling them.
That's great.
Acronyms are the devil.
And in education, there's a plethora of them.
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
Oh, that's okay. The acronyms, I call it education speak, because even for me, sometimes I have to ask, I'm like, help me out. So I appreciate that. So Dave already knows that because I represent the middle school, I'm always especially thinking of the students there and the special education students. And I wondered if you could make an opportunity to share your lessons learned that have been successful for you with the kids that are reading or doing math at this school's level, but they've transitioned to the middle school. Maybe there's some lessons that you have that you can share with those teachers that might just even help them, right? You've put in the work, you've done the work, you've been successful. And sometimes you just want somebody to give you a couple good ideas. So I don't know if you have something that's different than what they're doing. I don't know if your group's coordinator, how that works or whatever, but you've done great work and I appreciate the work and I'd like to share it far and wide. So anyway.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I was waiting.
I'm just used to going first.
Yeah. Huge congratulations. I was super encouraged to read this presentation in the board packet and to be able to celebrate this with you guys. I mean, I really appreciate your dedication to this and really leaning into it hard and sharing the results. And hopefully this is something kind of with my board comments, something that we can share to our community that, you know, we set goals, we review goals, we discuss goals and kind of the results align with that. Cause I think that's good information that parents don't have. And I also want to say that I know we're talking a lot about test scores tonight. And test scores matter. I'm not sidestepping that at all. It's really it's one of the major measuring sticks that our community has to kind of judge the educational success in the building. However, my father used to always say, what's important to you is what you talk most about. And I don't want to lose focus or to give the conception that the only thing that matters to Carl Carey as a board director is test scores, right? We all know that there's so much more that goes into a healthy, vibrant educational environment than the outcome of a test score. And that's one of the things I wanted to commend Monte Cristo on, is that I really feel like you guys have a really good thing going here in those other areas of teachers that make relationships with students, of letting kids know that they belong, you know, of those kind of social emotional things. So a huge kudos to you guys, because we aren't talking about that. The last question I have, I will tell you, you do not have to answer tonight because I didn't prep you for it. So I'm completely okay with, you'll come back to me on this, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what more can I do as a board director to support you guys, right? And I know that's a big ask, but and you obviously have a board representation here of a board, but you know, if there's something that I can do from a, you know, an advocate, a policy or support standpoint to improve upon all of the great things that you guys are doing, I would love to hear that, because I would love to be able to give you every tool that you feel like you need to continue your success. So like I said, feel free to answer now or answer later. I'm okay with that either way.
I can start by saying at Monte Cristo, we've had several parent events already, and we would love to have you be at the events, at the skate deck, and get those skates on. Join our families and join our students and join our staff to show us that you are alongside us all the way. That would be one thing that I think families would appreciate.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Give me the dates. For sure.
I think just as another thought is it's been all hands on deck this year. We've needed every single staff member to be vital to making a difference in our kids' lives, and making any, you know, percent of this growth is because we've needed the full-time counselor, the full-time, you know, student support advocate, all of our staff. We have student supervision hours that were increased this year because we needed it, and it takes a whole village to raise these children, and so continuing to support us with staffing is fantastic.
Great feedback. That's all I've got. Sorry putting you on the spot.
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. I wanted to say congratulations for meeting and beating your goals. As you guys know, I have a daughter here, and I've been incredibly impressed with, I'm gonna cry. No, okay. Incredibly impressed with the care, especially Miss Wright last week or a week or two ago. I really appreciate it. Sorry. Sorry.
We're here for you. We're here for the community, and we're here for families, students, and staff. us anytime. Our door is open.
I'll finish my comment I wanted to make. I just want your personal opinion. Do you think Oliver is going to be to Alistair's? What do you think? Is there a chance that's going to happen?
Let's talk about that later.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3C.
We want to let them go before we go. I don't.
Yeah, it is their school, so I kind of.
Oh, yeah. I'm just asking
You
questions.
guys, you're free to leave if you'd like, or stay with the meeting. It's weird, it's your school, so I don't know. Normally,
We
when
haven't
I'm.
eaten lunch, so it's okay if we
Go
step
for
out to eat a little bit.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's weird when they're in the school, like, you can leave school now.
It's a long day.
And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I didn't know, like, leave your school. All right, 3C, facilities summer project prepared by Dion. So this is prepared by Dion for us. Does anyone have any questions for Dion? I know I have a couple, but
You go first.
it's
I've
weird.
got a couple.
Of all these repairs you have, are these put in like order of importance or just listed for each building? I'm just curious.
Listed per building.
Just per building, so like the fire alarm is not more important than repair the lockers.
The
It's
fire
just-
alarm is important.
But I know what I meant. Was that on purpose? That was happening.
The fire alarm is going to happen first in June.
Okay.
As soon as they get out, that's the first one that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Because we need the fire suppression system to, which it works now, it's just, it's limping its way. So,
I just wondered if there was an order or just.
no,
these are
we
things
just
we're
go
gonna do
building
all
by
that.
building. Normally our schedule is we start with the middle school first. The basketball teams would like to get into the gyms and I take over everything. So we allow them to use the middle school gym first. So while they're waxing the gym, we'll go to a different school and we just rotate
Gotcha.
like that so that we can stay either ahead or behind someone who's doing something.
And then my last question actually had to do with, so a lot's been said about transparency and accountability, especially with funds. Could you explain the surplus sale process so people in the community know how we surplus items? We don't just throw them out or give them away. There's an actual process.
Right.
Just real brief. for the
So what's
community.
happening right now is a lot of schools are doing online surplus sales. Right now with the maintenance needs, we don't have time to take photos of groups of items and books, and I gotta go do things with Karen still. So we're just gonna have it in the back of the middle school. They've been keen, allowed us to put a lot of items back there. We're just gonna open it up for 3 days. And there's a price point for certain items, and then we'll just let them bid on the item. And then if they win the bid, they get the item. If the items don't sell, we have to discard the item, but we have to keep a list of every item. So if Karen says we no longer need this curriculum, I have to write a list of every single book and how many, the number of it, and then we keep that on file for audit purposes.
Yeah, so pretty much the point I want to make to the community is that we can't just throw stuff out
No.
with tax dollars. We have to be careful coming in and going out.
Right.
So that's the point. of the cycle. So I just
Everything
wanted-
has a value, yeah, so we keep records of everything that we throw away. Or if the table breaks, we have to write down that how many tables that we throw away each month or each year.
So there's accountability for our physical assets as well.
It is, yes.
Those are my 2 comments.
About when would that surplus sale be? Because I got some shopping to do.
I'm taking vacation, so it's gonna be the week of the 4th of July. So probably the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay.
We have to kind of set up in the back because there's a lot of stuff. It's 20 plus years of stuff, so kind of crowded, but with the help of staff members. So,
Wonderful.
if you guys want a list of items, I can send, a list of items.
Well, I wouldn't want to get a list. If you just do
But
a
it's
list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that
just,
sounds weird.
it's a
That's too
school
much
surplus, so you kind of know what it is. so-
Yeah.
School stuff.
Couple of things, Leon. And I apologize because I didn't talk to you about what I was gonna say to BLRB
Right. You
earlier.
took my joy from me.
I
But,
apologize, my friend.
That's okay.
But I was just wondering, do you agree or disagree with kind of the sentiment of, hey, if there's something that we can maybe slide in this summer that they can give us a bullet point on, that maybe we can do like a small works thing?
Right, so, been working with Bill, so we are going to fix some of the things that we can fix in-house this summer. He's gonna give me a list of things that I do outside of the regular summer stuff.
Right.
We have had some vandalism, so that's more stuff that I have to, repair because of, people doing foolish things, but outside of that, we're just gonna get ready for the school year. But there are some things that I am concerned about that I shared with Bill that I think we should address, and he said we'll talk about it if we can get that
Okay,
addressed.
okay, cool.
So there is, they have their list and I have mine, so we just kind of combine them and put them together.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, I mean, I know that you guys are talking, but,
Yeah.
but if we have the opportunity to, because I think, I forget the dollar figure, but I know there's a certain dollar figure that you can do without needing quote unquote board approval.
Right.
Or maybe we could do a special meeting if you
Yeah.
guys, if you want to do a quick small
Right.
works roster or something
Right.
like that. So the only other thing I heard, that I don't even, it's tough to discern at times, what's true and what's not necessarily true. I've heard kind of conjecturally that there are some things that need to be done, that the football field at the high school is on kind of its last legs. And that there's some things that need to be done with that to really kind of stretch it. We're reaching kind of the end of the thing on that. And that maybe we need to do a rake or, or some other things. I noticed that it wasn't on your list. Is
No.
there, do you feel good?
So the superintendent's gonna address that part of the football field
Okay.
in his report.
Okay,
So.
I'm still in his thunder.
You are still in his thunder.
Oh, you're trying to
So-
make him steal his.
Yeah. Don't make me the bad guy. No, he's gonna address the issues with the football field and some other things that we're gonna do coming up. So.
Okay, all right, so more to come on.
So it's kind of hard to follow, excitement that this, the principal just did with all that positive energy, and then I come with Debbie Downer stuff. All the stuff that I have to repair, but
Yeah.
it's just, normal building, you have commercial buildings and they need work. And
Right.
You got to keep them up, and, as Paige and Joel were talking, I think of, the lights that my guys put in, that helped those kids see.
Yeah.
That's what I think about,
Absolutely.
a clean carpet, a clean desk. That's what I think about, that helps them get to those points and, as a team, we're all the team as a school district. So not just, oh, we did this, the kids couldn't do it without my team doing it too. And I really like that has happened.
Right.
Clean floors, clean bathrooms. I like that has increased in the kids' testing. So that's a good thing for me at this building. This is probably one of the ones that I'm proud of when I walk in, and it's not like, oh, look at that on the floor.
Right.
It's one of the next to the high school.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
That's all. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, side note on the, it takes a village,
It
kind of
does,
piece in the
yeah.
community. Like, it's just when you hear about vandalism and stuff like that, it's a great reminder for parents at home and everything, just to remind their kids that we are paying for these schools. We are paying for the repairs. So when you go spray paint something, when you go break something,
Right.
that's everybody paying for it.
Yeah.
Right, so.
And that's what every dollar pays
Yep.
for is, and those things add up in cost, especially now. So now we have to go repair something that is 3 times the cost than it would be normally.
Yep.
So that's what that levy dollars, and that's why we ask for money, because of things like that
Yep.
we have to pay for, or aging things that, we have some aging buildings that need some of the work in TLC. So,
We don't need to shoot ourselves in the foot.
no,
So.
no.
Dion, I'm so happy to see that it says the middle school paint interior and exterior. I know we talked about it last year. Tell me the scope of that painting.
We completed that painting last year. I don't know why I put that in there. There's probably some touch-up stuff. Like I was looking here on the wall, there's a few touch-up things that we probably have to do, but we matched the main building to the STEAM building. So I don't know if you guys saw pictures of that in one of my older reports. Because the main
Am
building
I?
looked more like a prison to me.
Yeah,
So we matched it with the paint scheme of the STEAM building.
did I not notice that there's not teal?
There's no more.
I'm gonna go walking again and look. I'm not kidding, because I have looked at that,
Yeah.
like chipping away
We did
teal
that
on
last
the.
year. Yeah. Sorry.
What
Tina.
color is it now?
It's gray.
Gray. Okay, it is gray. All right, I can picture it in my mind. I'm like, I was just there Saturday. All right.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I remember Dave saying, please, like, the stucco is actually sliding.
Well,
Down the
that
outside.
we have to address the stuff though on the exterior.
Are we gonna make any progress?
That's
We
one of
waiting
the
on
things I have to
PLRB?
discuss with the architects, if we're gonna address that.
Okay,
That is one of the safety issues that I'm concerned about.
that
'Cause
stucco
it's
sliding.
actually on the, if you come on the roof, I don't advise
I'm
to
not
do that.
gonna, I'm
but
not
I
gonna
know you
climb on
can,
the roof.
but it's actually falling apart on the roof part, you know,
Yeah.
coming.
100% chance I'm not getting on the roof, but anyway. A 1,000,000% chance. So you could hide stuff up there. I'll never see
I would not
it.
do that.
I'm just kidding, but I'm glad that we're looking at that, and I'm sure it'll get prioritized if it
Yeah.
can, because
Yeah.
if it's, I've watched it slide, so
Yeah,
anyway.
What they explained to me was that because of that side of the building against where the rain and the
Yeah,
weather.
that's that
it
north
seeps
side.
Behind,
Yeah.
so, you know, if we do stucco again, it's gonna happen again, so
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we have to address all the time.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much. 3D, business report prepared by Marshall. Marshall, is there anything to add to the report?
I just would like to just call out that our enrollment is amazing, like spoiled.
Don't you feel good that I read my packets ahead of time?
You know, proud of you.
You like, appreciate it.
Other thing I'd like to call out is that we have included the enrollment projections for next year. We're starting to build our budget based on that. We think it's a really conservative projection again, because we have a small senior class and we'll have a big kindergarten class coming in. So we're beginning to build our budget based on that, and we'll project this in the packet. And then we're calling out that we're going to have to come to the board for a budget extension for the general fund and for the capital projects fund. I know there's 3 board members here who probably haven't been through a budget extension. So in the summer, we present our budget to the board, and the board approves our budget, and we send that off to OSPI, and OSPI approves the budget, and it becomes our budget for the year. If we, for whatever reason, need to spend 1 penny above our budget, we have to come back to the board and ask the board to allow us to spend 1 penny above our budget. And then that has to go off to OSPI to get approved as well. And that gives us the ability to spend 1 penny above our budget. Well, we've been bitten by enrollment a couple of times since in the last 10 years. So we go very conservative on our enrollment projections. And what that does to us though, is if we do get a windfall of students, well, we're going to build our budget based on the enrollment that's in the budget. And that drives how many teachers we're going to get, that drives what our expenditures are going to be. Well, if we all of a sudden have 100, 150 more students than we thought we were going to have, that requires, 8 more teachers and all these other expenses. So we have to come back to the board. We've done this one other time, I think, since I've been here. Come back to the board and ask for a budget extension, and it's purely procedural, but we have to do it as a kind of a legislative process. So we have to do it probably either within the next month or so. So I may talk to Dr. Middleton and Director Butler about scheduling. It'll be a resolution. The resolution will say what we want to raise the expenditure limit to. It'll say why, and it'll be because we've received some additional grant funds this year that we had to spend, and our enrollment is significantly up beyond budget, beyond last year. And then the board would vote to approve the resolution, and we would submit that off to OSPI. And it is really rubber stamp procedural. There's no, if we say we need to spend it, OSPI is going to approve it. But it's just a formal process we have to go through. And it's not be either next board meeting or the board meeting after that, and I'll bring that to you guys.
Do we have to have a public hearing for, I forget. for budget?
Maybe in the past, have we?
I don't know that we have to have, I mean, it has to be in a public board meeting for approval, but I don't think we have to allow for a special session for public comment.
Okay.
That we do that for our regular budget, which when we'll be bringing our regular budget. Usually we schedule a study session with the board to go over a preliminary budget sometime after graduation. And then we'll come back in July or early August and ask for formal approval of our budget. We'll have one session where the community can come and ask questions about the budget, give feedback. And then we'll have a follow-up session where the board will be asked to approve the budget.
Any questions on the report? I have one question. I should have sent this to you earlier, but so we transferred money from forest revenue from debt service to capital projects.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And so the forest revenue, that's the taxing for
Correct.
the public lands we get for education. When we get that money, doesn't it make it 3 years behind? So we need to wait 3 years before you collect it?
That used to be the case, but now they fund it as the harvesting happens.
Okay. All
So
right.
we used to get money based on a forecast sometimes, or they used to have to wait 3 years to.
Okay.
But now it's happening as the forests are harvested.
Okay.
And what happens is we get all three of our funds, general fund, capital projects fund, and debt services fund receive tax revenue from forest harvesting sales. And ordinarily we have to spend the revenue in the fund that it is generated in, and the tax collector loads the funds with the forest revenue in a ratio of how the levy dollars flow. So, we do about $5 million a year into debt services from taxpayers to pay for our three outstanding bonds. We have about, $4.5 million that goes into our general fund. We have $650,000 that goes into capital projects fund. So whatever that big bucket of forest tax is, it gets spread out in those proportions into those three funds. But there's a WAC that allows us to transfer that Forest Service revenue from debt services into capital projects, provided we don't need it to pay our debt obligations and debt services. And that allows us to use that. We can only move it to capital projects, and so we can use it to help maintain our facilities or buy technology or stuff like that. So it's helpful for a district our size. It gets a decent amount of forest revenue, and we let it accumulate for a couple of years in there, and then we move it over to capital projects. So we had a $300,000 windfall into capital projects because of that. And we're able to buy a lot of new Chromebooks and stuff like that this year.
I'd like to point out, they used to just not give us the money at all.
It used
They
to-
just like put it in our
used to be
bank
the
account and
weirdest.
take it right back out.
Yeah, the tax collector would put it into our account, and then OSPI would pull it out. So it we just passed it right through to OSPI.
Yeah, I went to a lot of meetings. I don't think about that one. Going, why are you doing that?
Why even give it to us to begin with?
Yeah. So at least let's keep it now.
Yeah.
No questions. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Marshall.
Superintendent Report presented by Dr. Miller.
There we go. So we've spent quite a bit of time talking tonight about the levy. And, similar to you, just very grateful for our community to come out and support that. And really what that means is all the things that we've been talking about for the last few months. And so we are going to be able to have extracurricular next year. And that's huge excitement. What a benefit for students, because those levies are really about students. Staff to ensure that safety measures are in place. The campus monitors over the last 3 years have made such a difference for our principals and just keeping things safe and orderly. Certainly, and Director Carey made a good point. I keep using fully funded, but ample funding. These levies are certainly used to shore up so that we have ample funding to that is now provided by the state. And then, of course, facility needs. That capital levy passed that goes to our technology as well as our facilities. I'm pleased to have BLRB here tonight to sort of give the scope. And one thing they didn't mention that I'm excited about is when they come back in summer and fall, they're going to, it's not just sitting down with Marshall and Director Carey and myself talking about schools. They're going to start bringing in stakeholders, and it starts with the principals and teachers to talk about, is this adequate educational space? Are our schools up to the times that we're living in as education has changed? And then there are certainly some more immediate needs that Dion was referring to earlier. And it's in our athletics. I mean, we have a 15 to 16-year-old turf, which usually has a lifespan of about 10 to 15 years. And right now, there's concern whether that would even be certified for playing on in the fall. So we've asked Michael Maynor and Dion and Marshall to start getting some bids on that. And certainly we're looking at the track. I've been on the tennis courts lately. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done. And I'm not saying we're committing our levy dollars to that. I'm just saying these are some things that we need to look at and address. But the first thing we need to do is let's get some prices on that and certainly come back and share. But this is the biggest thing to me. Adoption every year of a curriculum, which we haven't done for years, K-12. And so what I think this is the biggest celebration. Our teachers have been looking for that. Our students deserve it, to have a viable, rigorous curriculum that we can adopt every year and get into that cycle. It can be, should be the most exciting part of all of this, and something that's been missing. I wrote my comments independent of the 5 of you, and they're very similar to what you've shared. We certainly got a message from 49% of the community, and I don't disagree. There can be some updates, and I think frequent and varied communication is the key. All of you get the WASDA journal, and I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but someone on the staff did a book review on what are you for, and FOR is capitalized. And I've been reading that book, and one of the takeaways for me is, as a country, that both for-profit companies as well as nonprofit, there's been this perspective of, we tell our customers what we do. But those days of advertising are long gone, and we see it just by going online and you read restaurant reviews, Yelp reviews, and that has so much influence. So really, it is customers who define more about the company and tell us about the company than the company does in what they share. So certainly things to be working on. Second, I wanted to share just some COVID awareness. COVID is still present. We have now staff and students in the 20s that are out, and that number in the whole county, I'm sorry, that's within our district, staff and students in the 20s who are now out of school and following the proper protocol. Within the Snohomish Health District or Snohomish County, that 2-week number is doubling every week. So the point is, we're not out of it, and we are pleading with our students, staff, families. If you're not feeling well, stay home. Because when we start coming to school with symptoms, that's when our fellow students and staff members get sick, and staff get sick. We need subs, and when we don't have subs, we run into all sorts of problems. So again, just pleading with the community. Students aren't feeling well. The staff, if you're not feeling well, stay home. We have plenty of tests, and we are happy to give tests out to take home, and we now accept home tests. So please be mindful of that. And along the same lines, there's a flu that's still going out. It's going around. So same thing, stay home if you're not feeling well. And I think to highlight some of the things that our Monte Cristo administration shared tonight. They shared Monte Cristo. I'm just showing an overview of our district K-8 from fall to spring. And what's exciting is this is the fall, and we have 22% in the green, and we're up quite a bit to 42%. We're seeing that red shrink also there, and certainly our tier 2 students that's shrinking. So that's our overall K-8 reading, and again, that's a lot of celebration because you consider that the last 2 years, our teachers and our students really did the best they could with that remote and hybrid learning. So to come in the fall, down here really wasn't a surprise, but really what a celebration to close some of those gaps. So that's in reading, and then in math, we're seeing the same thing, seeing some nice growth into our green zone, lessening in the high at risk, and lessening that tier 2. So to me, a lot to celebrate there. And I think from the presentation from Paige and Joelle, and I've already talked to Director Carey about this. I don't need any incentive. This is what drives me for 36 years. So, and I know we have a room for a district full of administrators and teachers and staff who are passionate about growth. And I think we're going to start seeing this. We just got off 2 years of a pandemic, and to have these results, I think, is pretty exciting. Last thing I wanted to share, just some key dates. Tomorrow, levy passed for new adoption starting next year, but we use some of our ESSER funds to adopt math curriculum this year. And Dr. Manns and her team have done really an amazing job. They've involved stakeholders, and tomorrow at 5 p.m., we're opening it up for the public to come and look at some of those materials so they have a chance. And at our next meeting, there'll be a recommendation for adoption, which would, you're the final approval of making this purchase. So if you're interested, tomorrow at 5 in the district office. I forgot one date, May 20th at 1 p.m. That's a Friday. That's the audit exit. And we have really good news about our financial audit. And so I don't know if we want the whole board, Director Butler,
we'll
Chair
work on
Butler,
it,
you want to,
Yeah, we'll work on that.
you'll
Yeah.
determine who will be there, that's great.
And I mean, we'll, maybe we'll see.
On the 31st, we have a couple things going on, if you'd like to be involved. The senior walk, which involves our seniors from the two high schools going from the middle school to the grade schools. That all starts at the middle school at 1 p.m. And just, again, a real celebration and what a great modeling of encouragement for our younger students to see. Also on the 31st, we have a community forum on social media and digital citizenship. That will be also at the district office at 6 p.m. June 1st is our Crossroads and Open Doors graduations. And then the 3rd, we have the Granite Falls High School graduation. So just wanted to share some of that. Any questions or comments?
There's other end of year activities going on, bank and stuff. When we get a calendar,
There will be. In fact, Melanie and I will send something out. We have scholarship night. There are a number of
CUT,
things.
all that stuff.
Some of the key things I wanted to share tonight.
Other questions? Dr. Miller? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 3F, board report. We'll start with WIA.
Yeah. So WIA, we have the state track meet for 1A will be held May 26th to the 28th at Eastern Washington University. If anybody wants to get out there and support. Reportedly seen a rise in discriminatory behavior and working with districts and conferences to implement more harsh penalties for this behavior. So there have been multiple reported incidents in the Emerald Sound Conference. So they're working on larger penalties for that level of behavior. The boys soccer and baseball season ended last week. Both teams have a lot of returning players, so it's a good growth indicator. And then the girls softball team is currently in 2nd place in the conference, and they have 4 games remaining. So the team is really pushing to be in 1st place by the time that the tournament begins. So, the updates.
Any questions? Legislative report.
Yeah, so this past Friday and Saturday, I made the 4-hour drive to Pasco to attend the first legislative convention for WASDA. First time I had attended something along those lines. As you guys know, I'm one of the 2 WASDA legislative representatives for District Area 1. The other one, my colleague, is a representative on the Edmonds School Board. Really interesting meeting, getting to kind of see behind how the sausage is made, so to speak. So the purpose of the meeting was that we were reviewing proposals for WASDA's legislative positions and reviewing and voting on them to forward to General Assembly, which we will all go to, with a pass or do not pass recommendation. So a lot of topics that were free ranging, different boards are dealing with, or, and so being able to really kind of see how that stuff comes together, I think was really valuable. But also to be able to specifically speak to the needs of Granite Falls. I realized sitting around that table that there was only 2 other school districts that would be considered small. There's a representative from Cascade that was sitting next to me, and there was another representative, I forget the name of his school district, but on the east side. So there's not a lot of advocacy for small districts there. It was nice to kind of speak up as we are discussing and providing friendly amendments to things. I will say I would have considered myself moderately good at Robert's Rule of Order, but that is literally a table of people who are like professors at Robert's Rule of Order. I actually have some handouts that they gave us that I forgot to bring with me tonight that I'll give to the board on, how to, what takes precedence in the line of forwarding motions and, all of that really kind of specific Robert's Rule of Order stuff. So it definitely is a little bit like playing jump rope. It took me a while to kind of get used to kind of how they run their meetings, with a kind of strict adherence to that. So one of the things that I think that I was probably most valuable and I consider worth the trip is on the evening, one of the first evening, I was able to sit around the dinner table with Marissa Rathbone, who is our who is basically our representative from WASDA, forwarding and kind of discussing those legislative preferences, speaking on bills, giving us updates on things that are coming down the road, along with Logan, who is essentially her assistant, and then a number of other school board directors from extremely large districts around the state, who really had no understanding at all of regionalization or the impact of it. East Side schools, they're like, what regionalization? Because most of, other than Spokane, they don't get regionalization. So really to have a really good conversation with them about the impact that regionalization has on small districts like us that are surrounded on almost every side by larger districts, and have that difference was something that wasn't even on their radar screen. So I had some Marissa, as well as some other board directors, promised to really help me get in front of some decision makers on the educational committee and stuff like that to really kind of forward that message. So I'm looking forward to those connections, and certainly more to come on that. The only other thing that I would say is that we as a board need to be more involved, and this isn't a negative. I actually, even until this meeting, didn't quite understand how much WASDA and General Assembly and all of that stuff plays into the message that goes to the state level and the advocacy that they do for us. And I know that Director Butler and I have shared off a couple of times going to General Assembly, and we've got the WASDA annual convention coming up and stuff like that. But we really need to be involved in that, because again, I realize sitting around that table that there's not a lot of small school voices that are in the mix right now. And so in turn, the unfortunate reality is there's not a lot of advocacy for small schools that are happening around that table. And from WASDA on up, I mean, they do have a small schools group. I mean, we aren't completely ignored, but we need to be more involved with that type of stuff. And I talk more in my legislative updates about that moving forward. That's really all I got.
The comments or questions? I wanted to echo the getting involved part, because we might not realize that when stuff comes to a vote, that there's two ways of voting. There's everyone gets a vote, then they have a weighted vote, which you're allotted a number of points for your vote to count for based on the size of your district. So it's doubly stacked against us, because we get 3 points, whereas bigger districts get 7 points for the vote system. It's a weighted vote based on size. So the more involved we are in this process, the better chance we have of making a change and making a difference for us. Community report.
So as you've probably seen all over social media, the chamber is really pushing the show and shine this summer. And I don't know if we need to vote about it or not, but I would really like to see us with a booth there, if we can, to get our presence out there. They do. They've started.
I know railroad days are booth heavy. Show and shine started booth.
Yeah, it's starting to be. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
And it's a good time in summer to be out there, involved in the community, especially for new people who are moving in, might not have enrolled their students yet. And I don't know about the eco cars, but that might be a draw. Yeah. So just that, and just that wanting a booth. And then other than now that levy stuff is done, just more of a boost in the social media presence. And that's about it.
Questions?
What was the date of the show and shine?
Oh gosh, I did not.
August
Yeah,
6th. Okay.
I knew August. I just
have
didn't
my
know.
car right, so. I'll be there. Awesome. Let's move on to 4 items from the floor. Correct, no one signed up. Comments on the floor? Okay. Move on to item 5, no unfinished business, there is none. New business, there is none. Consent agenda, we actually have some additions to the consent agenda, so I'll entertain a discussion, but I will need a motion now to accept the consent agenda with the additions. Is there any discussion before we?
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda for provided board docs along with the additions.
Any second?
A second.
Motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. We are going to adjourn our regular meeting. We are going to executive session to review the performance of a public employee. I'm gonna set the time for 20 minutes initially. We might come out to extend it after that. But we'll come out to the public now. We're gonna take a 5-minute break between that. We are taking no action after that meeting. So we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll start our executive session at 5:30 out.